Alright, yo, what's up everyone? It's STG Weekly, episode 160. We're getting up there to 200 very slowly but surely. It will happen, and who knows, we might watch some more shmup commercials or something at that point, or something like that. That was a godlike episode, by the way. But yeah, so here we are with the Caladrius Blaze. Actually, this has pretty much been a long time coming doing this episode. Ever since pretty much Blaze came out. I mean, it's been out. This game's been out for quite a while. This is a game by Moss, recently known for putting out Raiden 5 on various platforms. Their game previous to Raiden 5 was, in fact, their Caladrius franchise, in which they released the game originally on the Xbox 360 in 2004, or not 4, 11, or let me check here.
Yeah, it's like 2011.
2011, that's what it was. Or no, is it 11 or is it I think it's 13 actually. What did I put there? I think it's 13.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's 2013. Well, at least according to Wikipedia, anyway. No, it's 2013 for sure. It hasn't been out that crazy long. But in any case, correct us if we're wrong. But in any case, yeah. So it came on the 360 originally, and then the game, I think, then was put to arcade on the Nezuka platform.
Yes, for the Sega AllNet platform.
Yeah, so that's pretty neat. From console to arcade, one of the few games that does that. And that's kind of where they came up with a lot of the mechanics, which would then comprise evolution mode in Caladrius Blaze, and Caladrius Blaze would come out on the PS3 afterwards, and then that would include the original game, the Xbox 360 version, and then the arcade mode, which is, as I understand, very faithful to the actual Nezuka. And then the main game's main mode is evolution mode, and that's kind of just another retool of the arcade mode. But I think they did it just to kind of create the most probably just to create the best experience for all users. I'm guessing is kind of the idea there. It is the featured mode of the game. You know, it's like the main selection type of thing, and we'll go over some differences with that, but like, yeah, this game is actually really damn good. I'd say the thing that kind of separates this from some other shooters is the fact that you have like a cast of characters. This thing is 8 separate characters, 8 or 9, and each character has 3 different elemental shots, aka unique attacks that are mapped to unique buttons. So you take, 8 times 3, and then you've got, something like 24, separate unique attacks that are actually used and featured in the game, and can be used in a variety of ways. So I think just at the onset, like, this is a game where you can just kind of jump in and play with any character and try out the different characters and just see how all their elemental shots interact with like the game and kind of how that works. So like, it's pretty fun to check them all out. In my opinion, they're all like, some are more useful than others, but in general, each character will have their offensive element, a utility element, and then a protective element, and those will be mapped 1, 2, 3. And the protective element typically will be able to destroy bullets, and you can use that to protect you from enemy fire. But each character has a different, they have different mechanics for their shields, and we'll be getting into that too. In the particular run that we're going to be watching, we'll be checking out an evolution mode run, and this run is going to be using K, one of the main characters of the game. Actually, when the game first came out, it only had 3 selectable characters in K, Maria, and Alex. And then I think it was Caladrius and Noah and Laius were then DLC characters, something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
And then I think they added a couple more as well. I think, oh, Lilith was in there too. Anyway, like those characters, yeah, those are the 3 originals. But so with Kay, like he's pretty decent. And like the game will also feature the ability to customize the elemental shots between the characters. So you know there's the default configurations, but then there's custom, and then you can just mix and match any of the elements to any of your buttons, and you can kind of approach the game that way too, and you can get pretty overpowered when you do that. But yeah, of course I'm being hosted by Maximo. He's already talked a little bit, so yeah, thanks for joining, Maximo.
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
But yeah, this game it's freaking awesome. It's got really good production quality. They really, you can tell Moss just kind of went above and beyond trying to create a kind of new and unique shooter. It does have a gothic horror theme with like these kind of really like imposing like mech designs, but also features the shame break system, which is essentially when you quick kill the bosses, well, not all of them, most of them happen to be female, that will give battle damage to their portraits and their clothes will be ripped off. But this is actually important to scoring, because when you do that you get an extra medal bonus, and that'll actually add up quite a bit throughout the course of the run. And then also, not only can you shame break the bosses, but you yourself can be shame broken if you've collected a certain amount of medals and then you take a hit. You yourself will receive that battle damage, and when that happens, not only does the clothes get ripped and whatnot, but you also get like a 10% damage boost. So it's like, it's not all for naught when you take a hit. And the game also features a bomb pool system, where instead of when you die you don't lose your bombs, you get one bomb when you die, and then it adds it to a pool that you use throughout the whole game. So that's a bit of a somewhat unique system there, and you won't be collecting bomb items in this game. They'll actually be being added to your collection from score milestones. So the better you score, the more bombs you can use, and it's pretty nice. The bombs are really useful. So, and then I'd say the next main mechanic about the game is speaking about evolution mode, and this is, I mean, all the modes are fairly similar in how they work, but when you have 50% gauge on all of your elemental shots, you'll be able to unleash a super powered attack that will last about 10 seconds or so, depending on how powered up you are in the game. And yeah, I mean, so you can use that. It's really good for dealing with some of the onslaughts of enemies. And not only that, but the game scatters these recharge crystals in the stages. These are hidden crystals that you shoot in the environment, and they'll recharge all of your gauge. So what you'll see in this run that we're going to be watching is I'll be like timing my evolution activations, and then once I come out of the activation, I'll be picking up a recharge crystal immediately afterwards, so I can get back to actually using my elemental shots. Because if you don't have any meter for the elemental shots, you actually get pretty weak. And then you have to let it build up, so the elemental crystals will recharge on their own after you've stopped using them for a few seconds. So yeah, that's kind of like what you're looking at in Caladrius Blaze. Besides that, it's a fairly traditional shmup. In that regard, the scoring system isn't particularly complicated, but we'll be getting into that as we kind of watch my run, the run here. In fact, I am the player of the run today. I get the opportunity to actually plug myself here. I've actually been playing this game pretty heavily for the last like 4 or 5 months, it seems, and I really love it. I think this is one of the best modern shmups that's out there right now, and even one of the best shmups ever made. Like, it's just, I just find it very enjoyable and satisfying, and the music is godlike from Base Escape. got some really good stuff there, and it's like if you like the soundtracks in Decimiles or Raiden 5, like it definitely is reminiscent of that. It's that bass escape like rock style, I guess. It's really good. It's got a few different composers. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I glossed over anything in particular, but yeah, so there's some other mechanics as well. You can gain 1-ups by collecting these ether chips throughout the stages, and those will just be dropping from certain enemies. And that's that gauge in the bottom middle of the screen. When you fill that up all the way, you can get a 1-up item. And there's something like 30 ether chips throughout the game, so eventually you figure out like which enemies are dropping those, and you'll try to grab those. And then so I did briefly mention, but you do power up your attacks as you go through the game, and that's actually tied to using your elemental shots as well. The very bottom left gauge will show a little bar that actually builds up the chips that you can use to power up your character from stage to stage. So you actually see the every unique shot be powered up. That's like 120 different power levels for all the different weapons. I mean, that's pretty interesting. But it's just like they just get gradually more strong and more useful and whatnot. It's not like particularly impressive, but it is true that there is that many power levels for the weapons. So like, I don't know, maybe there could be like some crazy person who do like a level 1 power level run or something weird like that, or something like that. I never even considered that. But like, or maybe maybe level 2. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if that could even be done, because you know how you mentioned before, where if you're really low power, it makes it hard to kill stuff.
It is like, yeah, there's some pretty tanky enemies, and they just kind of bum rush you, and I think the game kind of expects you to use the mechanics to try to get through and whatnot. We'll see some of those spots, and yeah, it's really satisfying to use those evolution modes. And it's like every character has their strengths and weaknesses. The character balance is actually very good. We're just going to be looking at K here, but like I say, all the different characters they're all unique and have their own strengths and weaknesses. They'll have their base speeds as well, and in fact, even the bombs are slightly different from character to character. So it's pretty interesting in that regard. Wow, we've already talked for like 15 minutes about the game, so why don't we start to get into the run here. And I'll fill you guys in on some more of the mechanics in the beginning of the game, and then I'll probably just go rapid fire into some commentary about the run and answer any questions that Maximo has or comments and whatnot. And that's how the episodes usually go.
All right. Let's pull this baby up.
Indeed. So yeah, I am playing on the PlayStation 3 version. Threw down that chunky $80 for when it first came out, and well worth it. PS3 version, very solid. Good to go. PS3 and the PS4 versions are probably your definitive versions of the game. Whereas the PC version only runs at 1280 by 720 instead of being able to run at 1080. Besides that, though, the PC version I find is pretty accessible and good to use. I didn't have any problems with it myself. It has a couple audio discrepancies. Like they messed up the release on a lot of the sound effects, so it's like you have like this double up effect on some of the sound effects in the game. It's not particularly annoying, but it's something they kind of goofed. Besides that, no, it's a very accessible version of the game, and I do recommend getting it on Steam because it's often like $5, so you can't go wrong getting a high quality game like this for $5. So. And then, yeah, PS4 version is good, and then, you can get the original Xbox 360 game as well, but keep in mind, the original Xbox 360 game is a little bit more difficult, because you don't have access to the evolution mode. It's actually like it's called Fusion, and it's basically just a super powered bomb that you can use for 50% gauge, and it's just kind of, they didn't implement that super powered shot system quite yet. And I find that fusion system's kind of... It's kind of like... Well, it's actually called Burst, and then... Yeah, it's called Burst, and then I think in Arcade it's called Fusion, and then it's Evolution in Evolution mode, but yeah.
Yeah, and one other thing I also do want to mention too is that for the original release of Caladrius, I think that one is... The physical release is reach unlocked to Japan, and there is like a Xbox 360 version that you can get on like the digital marketplace.
That's right, yeah.
Pursue that way. But I mean, it's kind of made obsolete by just Blaze PS3 version, and then, you know, getting the PS4 released on either PlayAsia or just getting it on Steam.
I do believe this is true. Actually, the original 360 version is still a bit different from the vanilla version on Blaze. I guess there's a couple little things that were tweaked between those two versions still. So if you're a true diehard, maybe you want to get the original as well. I don't even have the original. I'd like to get it at some point, but probably will.
All right.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting in that regard.
Definitely. Okay then. You want to go ahead and get started with your run?
Indeed. All right. Here we go. Check it out. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right.
And then yeah, so I'm going to be playing this on very hard mode. What the difficulty is going to be changing is the bullet speed of the enemies, and I think the enemies will fire more bullets as well. That's pretty much all that the difficulty changes. In normal, the bullets will really float around quite a bit, but very hard makes it, in my opinion, a more focused experience, and it kind of makes it feel like more Raiden-y. And so I think the game really shines at very hard once you've established yourself from the normal mode. I highly recommend very hard, and that's what we'll be checking out here.
Nice.
So you have the different characters here. Some of the characters are like OP, like in terms of damage, but they can't like do so well for scoring. Other characters are like all-rounders, and some characters are good for scoring but weak. You know, it has that kind of dichotomy going on for the different characters. And then I'll be using K here.
Alright, so stage 1. Why did they call it Uncanny Playground?
Maybe it's just because it's like, ooh, it's the start of the game and it's easy, you're just playing around, I don't know. Well, because, so there's kind of some somewhat interesting lore. Well, basically all it is there's this alchemist, his name's Paracelsus, and he's the father of Kay, and the character I'm playing here, and he researched what was called the Forbidden Spell, which is like a high alchemic, like dark spell that, you know, should never be used, but, you know, they discovered it through alchemy. And then the stage 2 boss, Eleanor, she unlocks the Forbidden Spell for Grant, who's the king of this kingdom that we're kind of like fighting around and whatnot. And he's power hungry, and he uses the Forbidden Spell to power the mechs. And then he pretty much manipulates the various bosses we'll see to kind of protecting his kingdom in that regard. And then Kay is pissed off because his village was burned down by the stage 2 boss as well. So he's just like pissed off throughout the whole game because his village was burned down.
Gotcha. Angsty teenage boy. Something like that.
Yeah. So in this first stage, what I'm focusing on doing for scoring is just making sure I'm using my elemental shots pretty much to kill everything. Each time you kill a popcorn enemy with elemental shot, you'll increase the rate multiplier by 0.5, and that doesn't matter for a big enemy or a small enemy. Any destruction with element will increase the rate by 0.5. So you want to focus. So if you're truly going for score, you want to focus on taking care of all the popcorn efficiently by using your elemental shots. So I'll talk about Kay's elemental shots a bit here. His elemental shot 1 are like these boomerangs that kind of home in on everything. Really useful and also fairly damaging. His elemental shot 2 is this like wind attack. That one's pretty cool as well because depending on the direction you press, either up, left, or right, or down, you can place the wind in different positions of the screen. So you end up tactfully, strategically placing the wind to like take out popcorn enemies and that type of thing. That's really what it's designed for, is killing the popcorn, because it doesn't do a lot of base damage otherwise, unless you're really focusing on a big target. And then his Elemental Shot 3 is pretty cool. It's a Ghostbuster beam that just gets rid of bullets. You can wave it around like a Ghostbuster beam, and then it just destroys everything. The bullets. And then it also does pretty significant damage, so that's your damage dealer and your protective element. So he's really got it all in terms of his default elemental shots.
Interesting. Nice.
Stage 1 boss here is Daddy's Girl. She's an illegitimate child of Graham, and Graham, one of many Graham's illegitimate children. He just kind of like picked her to like do something for her, and then all she wants to do is please Daddy, and like make Graham think that she's useful. Because this is like a medieval fantasy kind of world,
Yeah.
so you have kind of like those kind of like
in place, like your cannon fodder.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like a brutal world, I guess, that type of thing.
I gotcha.
People being imprisoned and treated poorly and all that type of stuff. So, any case,
Glad to see.
yeah, glad to see that. And then so like when she's dying there, she's like, Kay is like, you can save yourself, just get out of the mech. And then she's like, no, this is my only duty. I have to please Daddy. So she actually just dies with the mech because she's just that stubborn. Anyway, the lore is it's interesting. I do like it actually. It's pretty well done with all the characters and stuff that's going on. But I probably won't talk too much more about that. I'll mention it briefly as we go on. But yeah, about the run here. So using Element Shot 3, getting that damage on the big guy, protecting yourself with the Element Shot 3, Element Shot 1 to take out the popcorn, etc.
Gotcha. Yeah, it looks like the multiplayer is also going up pretty fast. At least in the last stage, you got up to like 10 at that boss, and then now it's already up to almost 8. It looks like it goes down slightly too if you don't attack anything for a bit.
It does. You're right. Yeah, so this is a pretty busy section here. Kind of a lot of stuff going on, but I kind of went from the right to the left there because there were ether chips on the right side and then the left side, so that just dictated my route there. Then here I grabbed the recharge crystal, then I activated evolution mode there, so you can see it only lasts for like 7 seconds there or so. And then the game has soul towers like Raiden as well. And so basically those are little metal chunks in the ground. If you hover over them, they'll come out of the ground, and then at random it's 50k, 100k, 150 or 200k. Completely random score from those towers. So you kind of feel like lucky if you get like a few 200ks in a row. It's like, ooh, game's being pretty nice. Okay, so this stage 2 boss is a bit of a doozy for a stage 2 boss. It's Eleanor. She's got a huge like Leviathan boss. And then, yeah, so every boss has basically 3 chunks of their health bar, and then you'll have 2 Shame Break opportunities. There's one right there. And then there'll be another one, and then you can finish off. Of note is that all your elements get recharged when you enter a boss fight in evolution mode. So you might as well just use all of your gauge before you get into a boss fight, and then the same thing once you finish the boss. You'll get all those recharged at the beginning of the next stage.
Oh, nice.
So there's a planed bomb there. That attack is it's kind of particularly brutal. So I just use a planed bomb there. Hitbox is pretty tiny in the game. It is kind of like that little crystal in the middle of the ship. It's fairly small, not extremely small, but you can get away with some Raiden-esque dodges and whatnot. Something you'd see in like Raiden 3 or Raiden 4. It's pretty much a similar hitbox. And then so there, if I use my elemental shots just right, I can protect myself from that last attack. But I got a little too crazy, so I just bombed again.
Just to be safe.
Yeah. So if you die, it's pretty bad for the score because it resets your multiplier completely. So if you have like X10 rate built up and you die mid of the stage, you're losing a lot of score, like up to 4 or 5 million points. And for the type of runs I'm going for, like you really can't afford to die at all. So the best way to score is just to not die and build that multiplier, because you get a majority of your points from the boss destruction. Because it's the boss it's each phase, it's like parts of the boss plus the phase destructions that the multiplier gets applied to, and then those base points off the boss are pretty big. And then so we come to a mission stage here. And these missions, they're kind of like side stages, in which you need to destroy a certain amount of the target enemies. Actually, in this stage, it's all of the enemies. The next mission will be specific enemies. And then if you get 90% or above, you'll get some bonuses in terms of lives, bombs, or rather 1 life, bombs, and then ether chips. In general, you'll get 2 ether chips and a bomb, but if you get 100%, you'll get an extra life as well. In this yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so that just makes it worth it to just do well in these stages, especially if you're like scoring.
Yeah. So like these stages don't last a long time, but they're still worth a good chunk of points. So it's definitely good to get your rate up as well here. And then there's going to be recharge crystals here. I think I actually, let's see here what happens. Yeah, so I get 97.5. Getting 100% is pretty tricky on this one. So I tend not to go for it because it involves probably having to use it 1 bomb or 2 bombs, and then that's just not worth it.
Yeah, especially if you need to use bombs for other like stages or like bosses. Gotcha.
And then, yeah, just like the Raiden games, the medals also get added to your score here at the end. So if you die in a stage, you don't get your medals. Ooh. And your score will be fairly paltry. Like you'll still get a bonus from the lives and such, but it gets cut down quite a bit too. So just further just emphasizing the not dying scoring mechanic.
Okay. And one thing I also did want to ask too is that I noticed with these ether chip distributions, is there a particular strategy you use for which ones you decide to power up first?
Yeah, I mean it'll depend on character to character. Since K's all of his elemental shots are equally about as useful in the run, I tend to distribute them evenly.
Oh, okay.
Because as I'm leveling up the wind elemental shot 2, you know, that's going to be more helpful for taking care of these popcorns in the stages. So as you can see, I got like 6 bubbles now instead of like the 3 earlier on.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's going to be just useful. Here, I'm trying to just manage my elements just right so that I can have enough to destroy everything here, and then also get my evolution charge up. But I've used my elements poorly, so I had element shot 3 at 0%. So now I would have evolutioned right here, but I'm forced to bomb, and then I'm going to be evolutioning late. Is what's happening here. It's not a big deal, but I did use a bomb I didn't want to use there, and that's kind of like the timing, like the different timings to kind of get used to. Like I don't have a very like concrete route through the stages, but I do kind of base my gameplay around those crystals in general, and you know, it can be hard to like use the elements the same way every time you do a run for me. So sometimes it's, you know, I'm short on one, or I'm short on some, or I'm good on another, but it takes a while to actually really use those effectively. Because what you're really trying to do is like use one element, let the others recharge a bit, and then go back to another one, and so that you can most efficiently use your elements and keep them recharged and all that.
I see.
Yeah, so I've already got the rate built up to 16. Like if I was to take a death here, I'd be losing like 10 million points, because this stage is worth a lot of points. It's like 20-some million points alone. Just because like a lot of these stages have a ton of popcorn built up in the beginning of the stage, so you end up having just a big rate like at the beginning, and then if you die right after the beginning, it's like, oh, my score just got fucked up.
Yeah, because it's mostly bigger enemies close to the end, I'm guessing.
So they're, I didn't do that quite right, so I was forced another bomb out. I'm allowed something like 4 to 5 panic bombs throughout this run, but after that, I need them to beat bosses and for planned sections and whatnot, because some of the sections are just so crazy that you just have to bomb. I'll point a couple of them out.
Okay.
As we go through, but yeah, it just kind of gets way too crazy at times on very hard. Then we come to this boss. This boss is she's a songstress in this universe, and I guess she was just manipulated by Graham in some way to pilot a mech or something. So planned bomb here, because that attack is kind of brutal. It's like a crisscross attack that's pretty hard to manage with your elements. So I just use a force bomb there, and then I use element shot 1 here and just dodge all this and la-di-da. So this scythe is destructible over here. So I'm trying to get some damage on it, because when you destroy it, there's an ether chip that's going to pop out, and I think I may grab that here. So there's the destruction.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
And that scythe has a hitbox. The whole thing has a hitbox as well, so it's really easy to get hit by it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so when you're learning the game, you're just gonna get fucking like wrecked by that, guaranteed for sure, because it's pretty gigantic unless you're sitting in the back of the screen.
Gotcha. Yeah, Death always hits the hardest.
And then the last phase, pretty easy here. You can just go in this corner and then just wait for the big icicles and then destroy them. And then I'm going to finish it off with an evolution. That's typically what I'll end up doing, because when you kill stuff with an evolution, you do get slightly more worthwhile medals, these red medals. So it's like if you have the gauge, you might as well evolution at the end and take it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so far I'm deathless, so my run's going as according to plan.
That's bonus score is just building up too.
Get 1.7 mil from the bonus, and then you get I think 50k for each life remaining. So that also adds up a little bit throughout the run. And then having the bombs doesn't seem to affect the stage bonus greatly, but that also factors in too. So you're okay just bombing throughout the run for a scoring run. It's not going to be a big penalty or anything. You're just going to be short on bombs. Is the only problem there.
Gotcha.
So I'm kind of liberating right here if I want to put it into element shot 3 or something else. Sometimes I'm not quite sure which one I want more. Sometimes it just depends on how I'm feeling. But it's good to get that Ghostbuster beam going, because it gets longer, and then the range is, look at the range now. So that really just gets pretty useful. And not only that, but it's gonna be doing more damage. And also when you level up the elements, it makes it so the elemental gauge decreases less fast. So you can use them more. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we come to the external stage. This is a stage that was added for Arcade and Blaze. And I think those I think this one might be Blaze only. I forget what it is exactly, but the external and the mission stages were added in Arcade and Blaze. So there's an ether chip in that enemy, so I use my evolution, then there's a crystal right there, then I just activate again. There's a soul tower here. A lot going on in this section. So I get the soul tower, and then the evolution's running out, and then I have to time it just right, because there's these enemies up here that are sniping you, plus the popcorn. So if you do that evolution a little too early, then you're left with no elements at that part, and it can be kind of tough to dodge. So the timing can be pretty specific on the evolutions. Here I have a planned bomb because I just want to let my elements recharge, and then I evolution because this is like a mid-boss enemy. And then there's going to be another recharge crystal, very conveniently right after this. They're really laid out nicely like that. So as soon as it ends, I can just grab that, and then it takes a moment extra to get the recharge up, and then it comes back. And I'm at 100% again, so I can get back to scoring with my elemental shots. And again, I'll evolution here in a moment. I fell below 50% on 3, so I had to wait a moment. Do it again. And then there'll be another recharge crystal right after this one is over too.
Okay.
Of note is that when you use the evolution mode, there's like a shockwave that damages everything, and some of the popcorn are not resilient enough to take that damage. And stuff that's killed with the shockwave does not increase your multiplier. Same with bombs, I believe. So that can be something to keep in mind. Okay, so this is where the game just kind of throws everything at you, and you're forced to like do something about it. So there, I just really had nowhere to go. So I have a planned bomb right there, and then it's going to throw another onslaught of enemies at you here. If I had built up my evolution bar successfully, I would use it here, and that would be fine. But instead, I'm forced to use a bomb. So my rate's 13 right here, but a lot of the time I can get through that section with 15 or 16. So I actually lose a little chunk of score because of this on average compared to my other score runs. Because that extra X2 like just it makes a difference on these boss destructions. Because you got the big base points on the boss destructions.
I see.
Yeah, so here I'm just kind of waiting to let my elements recharge a little bit, and then I kill that phase right before the shame break is about to expire. Because the shame break, you know, you have to do it. You have to be fast to get them, but it expires a little bit after that. Usually, when the bosses like repeat their attacks, this is a pretty tough attack there. Thankfully, Kay is able to just swing the Ghostbuster beam and get rid of those bullets. But other characters don't really have that luxury, so like you really have to like play differently with the various characters depending on what they're capable of dodging and nullifying in terms of like their defense. Kay's Ghostbuster beam is very useful for just creating that gap in the bullets so you can escape back out. And there, I forgo the shame break to get my full recharge on the elements. I was actually just playing extra safe there for this run.
Gotcha.
Normally I would get that extra shame break, but here I'm just mostly concerned about not dying so I can get a fairly solid score for this run. Because this is not going to be my PB run. My PB is on the high score there in the top right. But you guys will see what happens in this run as we go on. So yeah, it was a good stage.
Nice.
And yeah, the music is really freaking good in this game. So good. It's really makes it like I haven't got tired of the soundtrack in like one bit. That's always a good thing for shmups, great soundtrack, so it can keep you motivated to keep playing. And then if it has a shitty soundtrack, you just put your own music on.
I did notice that too, Extruder. It's like, wow.
Yeah, so if you miss the stages, including the boss, you also get a like a unique end of stage image where the boss or character is like defeated and their clothes are mostly taken off. Of interesting note, well, I don't know, it's kind of weird to mention this, but the stage 1 boss, you know, she's like 12 years old and she has a small chest in the all of her other images, but in the stage clear image, she like gets much larger breasts. And I'm guessing they did that because like she's underage and they kind of want to make her look overage in that picture. Because I don't know, I thought it was kind of like interesting there. Like it's fairly tasteful, like clothes to damage. Like it's not like super lewd, but it is what it is. I mean, you guys have played enough anime to know what it's like. Anyway, this section has like these Xevious-esque blocks. They're pretty annoying to dodge. Here, so I'm using the Ghostbuster beam and the wind to actually attack them like through the blocks. Other characters won't have that luxury, and so you have to like kind of figure out a route through that stage.
For the Ghostbuster.
It's true though. They like anyway.
Yeah.
About the thing, that stage 1 boss, stage 2 boss. Anyway, so yeah, this section, yeah, using the wind here just to get these popcorn preemptively. Otherwise, because they're shooting immediately once they get on screen. Yeah, this effectively using the element shot 3 there.
There you go.
Yeah, so that, yeah, so the evolution, so yeah, that was all planned out. And then that went accordingly. So for this boss, I got, two bombs I'm gonna be using no matter what, so I got 2. And then on the last attack, actually no, it's yeah, it's 2. And then the last attack, depending on how I perform, I'll use a bomb or I won't. So here, like, this attack just gets really crazy, so I just bomb. And then this phase, like, the elements will recharge. And I just kind of like dodge this pattern. These green bullets are like they're aimed, but they're really slow to track. So you kind of just like slowly dodge.
But it gives you enough time to react.
Yeah, you can kind of just react to that. So I just kind of like change position. Anyway, there's another bomb because that just gets really crazy. The thing is I want the evolution. I want to be able to activate evolution in this last phase. So, I mean, I could use all my Ghostbuster Beam on that second phase to protect myself, but it's still risky, so I just use a bomb instead. And this attack is kind of tricky as well. Unless I use the Element Shot 3 there, I'll get hit by that. And then I activate Evolution, and then I can clear out these sickles with the Element Shot 3, and looks like I'm able to do it without a bomb this time, which is actually pretty nice.
Nice.
But if I don't manage my element, like if I run out of Element Shot 3 too soon, the Ghostbuster Beam, I'll just bomb that last phase as well. I think I actually earned the bomb, another bomb just in time there, if I was able to do that, but I didn't need to. So because I'm actually a little bit low on the bombs because I pretty much used my allotment of panic bombs so far in the run. But I'm going to be building them back up. So yeah, another successful stage, and then we're gonna get fully powered up now.
Cool, and then we're all maxed out for weapons, it looks like, too.
And then mission stage 2, and this one, it's just specific targets that contribute to 100% instead of every single enemy. So this one's easier to get the 100% on, and I do a pretty good job, I'll say that. I don't always get the 100%, but I think this time I actually managed to do it without even bombing, which is really nice. So use an evolution here just to make sure I kill all of those. Then every checkpoint on these missions has recharge crystals after, so just grab those, and then I'm good to go again for the next section. Like, in terms of just using the element shots, like, I tend to just play fairly free form. Like, I just go with what I need at whatever moment calls for it. So you can really play kind of like loose like that in the game if you want. Which is kind of nice. It just means less rote memorization, which is good because I don't really particularly like doing everything the same way every time I play. Anyway, last section here. Let's get some crystals here. If you grab a crystal while you're evolutioning, it does refill your gauges. You can keep going because, you know, I'm spending it. And then I managed to get 100% there without even bombing. I usually have to bomb. So that evolution timing was like perfect for that. So I was actually pretty happy about that because I don't get 100% there without bombing often at all. So I get all the bonuses, and now I have actually all the lives except for the extra life in the first mission. And so now I'm actually getting a pretty decent bonus from all those extra lives now. What is it? Yeah, 350k for those. So yeah, that's adding up quite a bit for the score there. Because I'm gonna Because you get that, you're getting that, you're building that up every as you go through every stage and whatnot. And the second to last stage, the decisive battle. Of note is that you need to 1 credit clear this stage to actually go to the final stage. Kind of fun thing there.
Yeah, and I think that's a new requirement they added when they made the arcade version as well as Blaze, because I think in the original there was something where you could actually get to the last stage even if you didn't continue.
Yeah, I think you may be right about that. I forget exactly, but yeah. So I got these pop. So again, like in the beginning of this stage, there's a ton of popcorn, so it's very important. Like score-wise, I had this kind of memorized because I've already built the raid up, like up to like 14% here. There's so many popcorn here. So they really just want to build your raid up at the beginning of the stage. And that's what makes dying, right? Like, for example, if I was to die right here, like, the whole stage would be completely ruined. Because I built up all that raid there, and then I'm really not going to be able to build it up as fast anymore. So it's kind of, like, shitty if you die after that section or during that section.
Okay.
But yeah, so they got the rate up, already up to almost 20%. So it's pretty nice. And then even more little enemies. It's pretty nice how K functions in the run. He tends to be just versatile enough to really like use all of his elementals, and then typically not run out. So he can really pretty much destroy everything with his elements. A lot of the times I'll try to weaken some enemies with the main shot, and then finish them off with the element too, like these mid enemies. So I mean that's definitely what you kind of want to do too. You know, don't neglect the main shot. Some of the elements will use the main shot in with the elemental attack, and then others you might have to like tap the element and then hold the main shot. For example, you know, element shot 3 here, it can't use the main shot, and then element shot 2 does, but element shot 1 doesn't, so I have to tap element shot 1 if I want to get the main shot and element shot 1.
I see.
And then another recharge crystal here, just you know, it's really useful. Like if you're gonna try to get serious about scoring in this game, like the very first thing you want to do is memorize those recharge crystal locations. That will just be the foundation of your run, because it's so important to have your elements recharged to really maximize and be able to kill stuff with the elements.
Definitely just playing around that.
Yeah, it's just a good idea to play around that. Not only will you get the score, but you know your element shots are damaging, so they're going to be helping you survive the sections as well. So that's why it's very important, and it really was actually pretty fun to learn those locations. What I did is I kind of like took notes as I initially learned like where they were, and I tried to like in my notes I'll like kind of put something like a landmark that's by the recharge crystal, or like what's happening around that crystal, and that'll help me. That helped me initially remember where they were. And you know that can go for really any type of shmup routing and whatnot. Like, you know, just try to have some good study habits and that type of thing. Usually I like to take notes when I'm starting out with getting serious with the game, because it's just like kind of a fun way to just kind of get a project going and all that, even if you don't need to. Anyway, this grand fight's really intense. Hardest boss fight in the game here. Yeah, the first phase is over. But essentially, I want to build up my element shot 3 here so I can protect myself from these rose petal attacks to the best of my ability, and then I'll use the other elements as I can. That's because you really can't dodge those attacks. It's just not happening. And then I'm forced to bomb here because I ran out of element shot 3. And then I want to still have some because I want to actually use evolution in this third phase. So that's 2 planned bombs there. Maybe 1 if I do well in the element shots. Then I bomb again, and that just builds me some more time for the elements. And then I evolution to clear those bullets out, and then I go in the corner, and then use the Ghostbuster beam to kill these bullets coming at you from the corner. And that's the only way I figured out how to do that. And then the final attack. Actually, that attack's kind of annoying to dodge in the very beginning, but yeah, the Graham fight's super intense and super satisfying to get that down. Other characters are gonna struggle, just depending on what they have available in that fight, especially on very hard. Graham does not fuck around on very hard for sure. Yep, so that was well done, and you know, I even got the since I know missed, you know, Graham is defeated there. He's got his clothes barely ripped. That's like my one complaint. Like, I wish like the male characters actually like lost their full shirt or something like that. Like, it's unfair to the ladies.
Yeah,
it's unfair. Like, it's obviously like we're like conservative on that, and it's like, why? It would have been much better if they had if like Kay and Graham, like, you know, their shirts came off, and like maybe like even you saw like their boxers, and they got like hearts on their boxers or something.
My six pack.
That would have been way better. And yeah, so the last stage, so I got enough ether chips to get one more one up there. And this last stage is rough because you have these like sniper enemies that are spawning in non-stop, and it doesn't matter if you destroy them or you don't, they're just gonna keep respawning and sniping you. And they're kind of just coming in at random locations, so you really have to play conservative, staying in the back, otherwise you're gonna get picked off pretty easily. So there's some routing here in terms of just like trying to ease your way into when the targets appear on screen, and then not running out of screen space, because if you get to the edge of the screen and then you need to do a dodge, you might just get cut off by a sniper, which actually may happen. It's actually pretty easy.
Let's see, this will come true.
So one more recharge custodian. Yeah, and then there's a soul tower here, and I'm low on bombs, so I'm trying to get the soul tower, but I can't quite get it.
Nope, they just keep spawning.
And then there's a sniper that appeared appeared directly on top of where I was there.
Oh man.
And like those, like, unless I was in the back of the screen, I was not getting out of that. So unfortunately, I'm losing like a couple million points from that. You can't build up the rate too high on this stage, so it's not a big deal if you die on this stage. The most you can build the rate to like 6%, or rather like 6, like, and that's like the best you can do on this stage. So it's not a huge deal, but that did kill my you know, the last bit of score I wanted to get for an optimal run.
Especially with that stage bonus at the end.
So yeah, that first stage, planned bomb there, it's just, that attack is just, it's very difficult to cut back on it. You can, but it's really just up to RNG and some execution as well. And then here you have RNG on what type of crisscross pattern is going to be happening here. And then this like bullet attack is also, it's peculiar in that it retargets you every like 5 seconds. So it's hard to know when or where you have to be, because it targets you and then 5 seconds later it retargets you, and then when it retargets you, it's actually doing like an attack that the hole to dodge it is on the other side. And then I take another death because I went right into that orb. You got to watch out for the orbs there. The last attack is just the boss throwing everything at you. I usually just bomb and then evolution and call it a day there, but got kind of caught off guard.
He looks so disappointed there.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you need the 1cc to get to the final stage, and yeah, so I got 126 million there, just short of the PB.
Yeah, PB for you is like 133 million, if I remember correctly.
Yep, so like that was a pretty solid, like I consider that pretty solid. It's just I think a couple of my stages were not so great scoring because I was kind of focused on not dying for the purpose of this demonstration. So I lost a bit of score on the stages. I was actually at 130 million pace, like I think after stage 5, but yeah, the stage 6 was not good, so I didn't get too much score off that. So it was a pretty good run. I was pretty satisfied with that.
Nice.
And then like the 133 mil run is a no miss run. It's a no death run, and then like you're scoring it. Like the scoring was fairly on point. And I think it can go up to 140 million for evolution, but I'd have to really get some good routes down and just kill everything with the elements, and you know, get all the like every extra life as well. So I get that one extra 50k from the mission 1, because mission 1 is after the stage 2, so that'd be an extra 50k for like an additional 5 stages or something like that. So I mean that'd be like an extra 200k, and then it's the soul towers. There's a bunch. There's one in every stage, and then those can make a difference from 50 to 200k at random. So then there's some score variance, and then it's just just doing the stages efficiently. Ultimately, you want to build up that multiplier as fast as possible so you can get to X20. And if you can't get to X20, you want to build it up as soon as possible to really take advantage of the score as you go through the stage. So it's like the beginning of the stages are probably slightly more important to get all the rate up than the latter part.
I see. Do you know if this game has any sort of leaderboards you can check with, like online?
It does.
Or local?
Yeah, it has pretty good leaderboards. It has leaderboards for all the difficulties and all the modes as well, so you can sort them that way.
Oh, nice.
And then this will give you an idea of just what kind of run this was for me.
Man, all those 129, 128%. Man.
So like I gotten pretty consistent now. But yeah, just getting that no miss run is kind of tricky, especially on the last stage is particularly somewhat annoying to not die on. If I had an extra bomb, I would have bombed on that last soul tower to guarantee getting it, but I think I was just like one bomb. I was like one bomb short of doing that. I probably could have done it. I think I had enough, but I was just like, I'm looking pretty low, and sometimes I might need to use an extra bomb on the boss for whatever reason.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, it happens. You worry too much about one thing, then something else happens. That resource management. But
like, yeah, in the end, it would have been, it actually would have been a better idea just to not even worry about the soul tower, because I died and I lost that rate. So I mean, yeah, it was actually like it was actually the worst decision, or rather a worse decision to actually try to go for it, given the situation. But hey, you can't make all the right decisions every run, so.
Correct. I mean, if that would happen, we'd all have world record.
And I didn't include the opening movie in this video, so we're gonna check that out now.
Oh, nice.
It's got a nice little anime opener. It's actually pretty well done, honestly, and I like the music for it.
Did they like contract a singer or like a studio to do this? Or
I don't know, but it's pretty well done.
I remember the whole singer. So I remember the whole thing of like, you know, DDP, like STOJ, where they hired the other anime studio to do it, and it ended up taking like a lot of the budget.
Oh, really?
To get that on there.
Well, the production value is pretty high in the game, so I mean, you know, they wanted to make the best shmup that they can, you know, for everyone. Like, this truly is, like, pretty much as good as your modern shmup quality is gonna get. I mean, it is Moss after all, and they were Saibu Kaihatsu, the original Raiden creators. It's just kind of crazy to actually acknowledge that fact in the year 2019 now. It's like, the people who made Raiden end up making an anime gothic horror shooter, you know, like a billion years later, and no one would have expected that.
Yeah, very interesting change compared to what people thought they would have kept doing probably back in the day.
I think, I think the IP is really good, though. I actually want them to do a sequel to this game. I think that'd be pretty cool. Because it's a great IP. Like, there's really nothing really bad about it, my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I've always heard like people have given this game pretty solid reviews for the most part. The ones they usually just didn't play enough. Something like that.
Yeah, I really do feel it's approachable by anyone who likes shmups. Just because of what I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, the fact that all the characters have the unique attacks, and it's just fun to use those different weapons and attacks and see how they interact with the game. And in general, it's just fun to use different weapons in shmups like all together. So I think that they were just kind of keeping that in mind. And then they also made just a great game for people who like want to do scoring as well. I think it's really well done.
Definitely. Now, one question I did want to ask too is, for someone who wants to start on like Blaze, would you recommend doing evolution mode first, or trying something like the vanilla mode?
Well, it's really up to you. Like evolution is the most accessible, just because, well, I don't know all the differences exactly, but I think I mean, if you're playing vanilla versus arcade or evolution, you're not going to have the super powered attack available from using 50% of your gauges. It's going to be that burst attack, which is pretty useless in the original game. And I just find that the evolution activating that's like pretty fun to do in the game, because you get a super powered attack and it's satisfying and that type of thing. Then, not to mention, well, the arcade and the evolution have the missions and the EX stage. So you're getting more stages in the newer mode, so it's like, I figure you might as well just play evolution, honestly.
Gotcha.
But it really, I mean, it's really not a big deal. You can just try them all and go back and forth. I mean, as you're learning the game, it's probably not going to make a big difference overall for the most part.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind. And also, one other thing I did want to ask is, do you happen to know any activity for like Japanese leaderboards in regards to Blaze, or?
I don't know. Like, I've checked. As far as I understand, like I think the PS4 version is a worldwide leaderboard. And then I had like someone else check the PS4 leaderboard for me, and I guess it's fairly barren. Type of thing. I think there's like this one guy, his name's Another Blood, and he has like a very hard mode scoring run, I think the most active mode for score is definitely the arcade mode, because it is in arcades, and the Japanese players tend to take that more seriously. Definitely. because it is in the arcades. I mean, it's kind of like the same deal with like Muchi Muchi Pork, like the 1.01 mode, like that's not an arcade, so it only has like a couple players that actually took it seriously. And I think it's kind of a similar deal here, but I don't think that should stop you from enjoying evolution or anything like that. I just particularly like the mode. I mean, I might try to optimize something on arcade, just because it's not going to be that big of a difference, but it is going to be like, some growing pains switching back and forth, probably at least a tiny bit. Because I think the mechanics are just slightly different enough that it's gonna be like, kind of weird. But I don't know. I'll probably check out the arcade mode and see what I can do there at some point. But right now, my plan is to actually just learn a couple other characters for scoring in evolution. So I'm just gonna keep playing evolution.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that sounds like a nice plan. And also, too, for the person who mentioned Kyo, I think, being interested in AC mode, I think. What I also recommend doing is, probably when we release this episode, we'll put in, I know the Shmups Forum has like a strategy guide that talks about the differences between the modes, as well as some general strategies for that. So we can definitely plug that in as a link. That's pretty well done by AC Seraph. He was one of the big advocators of the game when it was released, and he was doing scoring runs and whatnot. Yeah,
and
I think he had like world record for like Lilith for like one of the modes for a while.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. And he uses Lilith, and we didn't really see other characters, but Lilith is tough, like, because, well, she's just kind of like, she's kind of weird. Her element shot 3 is like these tentacles that wave from left to right, like these little windshield wipers, and that can be kind of like tough to use for protecting yourself a little bit. and then like she's really slow, but her like main attack is really damn powerful. I don't know, it's just an unorthodox character, but AC Seraph made it work pretty well. And I mean, like I say earlier, I think that character is a little bit more route intensive just due to the fact of being slow. But yeah, that strategy thing with it has the differences all mapped out there. So yeah, definitely check that out so you can get all the information you need. Because we can't ever get all the information in these episodes, obviously. So I just kind of focus on evolution mode as the main thing here.
Plus, if you want the story lore, I think there's also a link to the story translation by another farm member, Pestro87.
Yeah,
So
that is
get
good
all
stuff.
your plot details and like
There is a PS4 English you can on the PS4 it is localized, and also the Steam version, so you can play a localized version of the game, which is great. But if you're playing the original PS3 Blaze, that is not translated. So, but yeah, I do recommend getting that Steam version, if anything, just to like do some playthroughs and like see what all the characters are about and get that lore, because it is like they did go out of their way to actually make a pretty rich background in this game. And it's really kind of interesting. Like K's story is that he's the son of the top alchemist, like the genius alchemist who like she researched the forbidden spell. So he's just bound to the story in that way. But like Sophia, the power up lady, she's actually Paracelsus' apprentice, and she actually I think dies by being used in his experiments. But she's like her character archetype is she's like the faithful apprentice to Paracelsus. So in the story, she actually is revived due to the forbidden spell, and so she's kind of like a zombie, like a undead character type of thing. Just because in her ending, she goes back to her Ceres, her slumber and all this, and as a spirit. So like that's kind of interesting too. And then like Lilith is like a kind of a weird example. So like Lilith in the game is the embodiment of the hatred in the world. So part of that is tied to the fact that the forbidden spell is revealed, and it's like the hatred of the world doesn't want the forbidden spell around, because it's like a chaotic power from the underworld and all this. So her ship is the embodiment of hatred, but her actual physical character is a princess of the kingdom, and then hatred possesses her, and that's why Lilith is just like batshit insane. So if you play as Lilith, like she's always like screaming and making crazy sounds and stuff. So that's pretty amusing. And then Alex is like a knight of the kingdom who's trying to like kind of figure things out, I guess. And then Maria is just her character was found to have magical ability when she was like a child. So then she was like she was just raised to be a magical priestess lady, I guess, is her thing. And then like Noah's the sister of one of the bosses in the game. I don't know her story too well yet. I don't know them all, but like they all have their place in the world as well as the bosses. Like they're all established in the story in some way, with Graham being the focal point. And then at the in the last stage, you go to the underworld, and then Beelzebub, the last boss, is Beelzebub of like like demon lore. I mean, it's the king of the flies, even though they personified her as female. It's actually a genderless figure. But she's just like guarding the underworld, and the game also hints at the fact that she considers like the humans like insects to her, and so she's like not even like going full power on you. but then when you defeat her, she's like, "I'll be back, full power," and whatnot. So like, I don't know, it'll be cool to see Beelzebub's return in the next game if they decide to do a sequel. Like, I don't know what the other characters. Oh yeah, then the Caladrius itself like is like a bird, which I think, I don't know, I think it might be in Christianity or something, but it's a bird that comes to someone who's near death as like a sign of some sort, or like a fortunate sign that it's like it's like okay to like go to the, you know, okay to die, essentially. It's just like that bird of reassurance as one is passing is my understanding of that figure. But yeah, they had that as like the main, as actually like a playable character in the game, which is kind of neat too. Also voice acted, so like the bird is like just yapping about and whatnot. Kind of interesting. I kind of want to do a run through with the Caladrius bird and see what the bird has to say about what's going on in the game. So it's all kind of interesting.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's a really great game, and once again, the game always goes on sale on Steam, and in fact, I think it may still be on sale. Actually, it was on sale on the PS4, the digital version, for $7.50. And I don't even have a PS4. I'm trying to get one maybe in the next like 6 months, and I just went ahead and bought that ahead of time. Because it's a pretty damn good deal. Like, it really is. It's pretty much as good as you can get for like a well-produced shmup. With Raiden 5 being next to there, and like maybe a couple other games. I mean, it's got that anime opening and everything, and you know.
All that good stuff.
It's got all that good stuff. The graphics and the music are top notch. Like, it really is just a really great shmup that really everyone needs to try out at least. There's really no excuse not to when it's as cheap as it is, and
totally
and whatnot. And if you're a shmup fan, you got to play it. It's just completely worth supporting. And I mean, I think we all want to see what Moss's next game is going to be. They're pretty secretive about what they do. So it's going to be interesting once they finally announce like what their next project is. I don't think they've said anything after Raiden 5 yet, but Raiden 5 also is pretty damn good. It's got some elements of Caladrius here and there, like it's got some more weapon selections, but it's still like more Raiden-y than it was like Caladrius for sure. That's why I want to see another Caladrius. That'd be sick. If you got like a Caladrius sequel, you'd have like, you know, you'd have all the different new characters with all new attacks. And you might even have like returning characters, like that could be interesting too. Like, the possibilities are, I don't know, makes you just want that sequel type of thing. As for Raiden 6, like if they're gonna do Raiden 6, I just hope they have another like time or another like dialogue tree that's just like centered around coffee. Because in Raiden 5, in the Raiden 5 script, they mention drinking coffee like over like 50 times. It's just like, it's like the meme of Raiden 5. So if Raiden 6 happens, there's probably gonna be some other meme like that. It's so good.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I actually want to make a Twitter bot that is like the Raiden 5 like quote bot, and then it's just gonna have like all the quotes like about like coffee and like the silly quotes, because it's like the translation is kind of like iffy, so there's like these lines that are voice acted that just sound like awkward, but it's just kind of got that like bad but good charm to it. Like my favorite is like when one of the operators like, the number has increased, this is tough, and it's like the number they keep on saying the number has increased when they talk about the enemies like growing in numbers. So it's like that phrase just sounds like a bad it just sounds like just a shoddy translation that they just rushed out.
That's making me think of the Castle Shigami 2 translation, which, oh man.
Yeah, I don't doubt there's some English going on in there and whatnot.
Oh, you should check it out sometime. It's like, it's gotta be like one of the worst dubs I've ever seen. Of just like,
oh yeah, the dub.
Yeah.
God. We're doing Mobile Life Force, Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, but it's like the one after it where, well, I think it's worth talking on its own episode or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Could probably do an episode all about just bad translations and shmups or something.
Actually, yeah, that would be a good idea because there's a lot I could talk about with that. Especially with like classic examples like Zero Wing. I actually do know what the whole story is behind that now.
Yeah. Well, then there was that book by Tomato, who's like a professional translator who like went in on a lot of the arcade games that have like weird translations like that, and that includes a lot of the shmups and stuff. So yeah, I'm sure some of that will come from that too.
Definitely. Yeah. I'll go
full extent of the jam, etc.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
But yeah, so Caladrius Blaze, definitely give it a shot. I do think the very hard mode is where the game truly shines, but the game's a lot of fun to play on the other difficulties. I mean, you can really focus on scoring on the lower difficulties because it's less about dodging, then it just becomes just managing your elements and kind of routing it through that way, and it's not as easy to die, so it doesn't ruin your score run. So with like normal mode, you see a lot of the scores a lot more tighter and closer together. Whereas with very hard, it's like a struggle to try to stay alive, and therefore that's part of the scoring as well. And that was just more appealing to me. But the game really just has pretty much everything for you to try to just jump into it. As it has like practice, easy, normal, and then like there's even an option to turn on invincibility if you just want to like go through the game and see it through to the end, or for whatever reason you want to turn that on. They have that too. It's just. That's kind of an interesting thing that they just included, just in case you just want to like get screenshots in the game or something like that. Who knows? But I think they thought of it all. And then the practice mode. Also elaborate a little bit about on that. You can select each individual stage, and then you can also do a boss rush, and then you can select the bosses individually as well. So that's what you got for your practice mode. It's good enough. You can't like you can't like start in the middle of a stage or anything like that. So the practice. So yeah, I definitely recommend using that. And yeah, it's pretty much what we got for Caladrius Blaze then.
Sweet.
Yeah, I went by real quick because I was commenting my own run, of course. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. And then, like I say, we'll have all the information and stuff on the YouTube page. And thanks, Maximo, for co-hosting.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here. Interesting book.
And yeah, play Caladrius Blaze. I mean, it's been out. It's already been out for so long, since 2014. But I still feel like it's underappreciated. Same with Raiden 5, really. Both of those games, like, they're really solid entries in the shmup world, and it's these games that are important from these bigger companies to support, because they're going to be the ones giving us, the most impressive shmup experiences. And not only that, but everything will look nice and great, and you have your anime opening, but they're going to focus on giving a solid scoring system and just pleasing the fans, because when it comes down to it, it still is just a niche genre, and these companies are just trying their best to just keep appealing to people that like shmups who don't necessarily go for a score or crazy runs, but also appealing to that group as well. So it's pretty nice that Moss is still around and doing things, and it basically goes the same for any of the shmup developers out there that are doing like good stuff for the genre, because there's a lot of bad shmups out there too. Because it's just like kind of got that trope of easy to make, hard to make a good one type of thing. But yeah, and then there's been some good stuff coming out. Like I noticed Blackbird was a really cool Fantasy Zone-esque shmup that came out recently. I think we'll probably try to cover that probably eventually too, because that game seems really neat, and also by an actual game developer who worked on Tulip on the PS2 and did some other stuff, but like an established game dev who just decided to do his own project and whatnot. So I find that to be pretty interesting, and whatnot. So yeah, that's gonna do it for us. Thanks for watching, everyone, and till next time.
All right, signing off. See you later.
All right, later, everyone.